a show that's just highlights.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it was.
Last night, while practicing using the word class, like in English, an elite committee of savants, analysts, and the second smartest person in sports media fought and toiled and burned the midnight oil to deliver the best segment in all of sports: honor, privilege, tears.
Wow. Thanks, Kevin Wild.
Nicely done.
We had a late committee meeting yesterday because Wild roped me into doing a podcast with my sworn rival, Pablo Torre, where they then confronted me about things I said to him at Wild's Christmas party. The whole thing was like a bad episode of Pranked, and now Wild's is throwing it in my face because I walked up to the guy.
What show is Pranked?
I don't know. Is that another show?
Prank? You just making up shows.
No, that was on MTV.
Thank you,
But
Coach.
it wasn't called Prank.
Yeah, it was called Prank.
It was,
Punk. Dagnabbit. You're right.
Wait.
Coach, I'm a
Drew got it right.
No,
All right,
I knew it
no,
was
you guys
something.
got it. All right, whatever. To the tiers. The eliminated teams don't need X's anymore because they're all at XL, all eliminated, which then, of course, does mean we must peruse the board, please, to see which of these teams, if any, talk trash in the offseason and need to be eliminated for it. Tyreek, I did it, your team just got eliminated, but I already got you. All the Bengals, we got you on Monday. Oh, Jordan Poyer. People think, he said Josh Allen's the best quarterback. He must play for the Bills. No, he plays for the Dolphins, and he was saying Josh Allen's the best quarterback. Jordan Poyer, enjoy the offseason, eliminated. Anyone else we need to get to? I think on this side we're good. So who's coming next? Oh, a lot of Ravens on there. Ooh, Tim Settle, Greg Jennings, Zach Taylor. Did he already get eliminated? Okay, we're good. A lot of people eliminated. How are we going to eliminate Carson Steele's family is my real question. The chief who had the Sunday wedding. All right, to the tiers. Familiar territory. Houston. 4 o'clock Saturday playoff game, wild card weekend. Set your watch to it. They've made the playoffs 7 times. They've played the early Saturday game 7 times. That's their familiar territory. For the Steelers, familiar territory is this. Find a way into the playoffs, be a huge dog. Everyone expects you to get rolled in round 1. Sadly, that has become Steelers' familiar territory. Ahead of schedule, a couple rookie quarterbacks. Both teams projected to win 5.5 games this year. Only one person in sports media bold enough to pick either of these teams to make the playoffs. Coach Mangini with Washington. Well done, Coach. So even if they both lose in round 1, and I anticipate they both will lose in round 1, they are definitively ahead of schedule, which oddly puts them in a better position than these 2 teams ahead of them who are now actually behind schedule. So the Chargers' schedule is more this year 5 for Justin Herbert, and he still doesn't have a playoff one. Now he can get that this week, and this year has been good, but the overall schedule for him, that's not where we thought it would be. 3 coaches before his first playoff win. For the Packers, last year they were the 7 seed, lost in round 2. This year they're the 7 seed, and I think I guess Brew doesn't, but a lot of people think they're going to lose in round 1. So again, really good years for both these teams. The Chargers are probably going to end up feeling better about it, but the Packers went into this season not thinking we're going to be in the exact same spot we were in last year, where we're the last team in the NFC playoffs, and that's the spot they find themselves in. Quarterback makes me confident. Baker and Matt Stafford. You go into these playoff games for both these teams. Both of them, by the way, get to be at home because they won their soft-ish divisions. And you feel like they're going to be able to be in any game they play this postseason because you know the quarterback has a 4-touchdown, 300-yard game in him. Now, for Stafford, they scored 44 against Buffalo and then scored 44 combined in their next 3 games, but they went 3-0 because the defense was excellent. Baker, Week 18 was almost a perfect Baker performance where first 2.5 quarters, it's like, are they really going to blow this? Where all they have to do is beat the Saints and make the playoffs. And then Baker was absolutely sensational late. I believe in both these quarterbacks, which is a little different than the next round. Quarterback makes me nervous. Darnold and Lamar, between the 2 of them, 1 quality playoff win, 2 total playoff wins. Really good rosters. Both of these teams absolutely have the resume and had the regular season of a team that can make the Super Bowl. But if I'm being totally honest, going into this postseason, even the biggest Ravens and Vikings fans are at least a little nervous. What quarterback are we going to get once the playoffs begin? New coaching model? Question mark. So you guys remember 6, 7 years ago? Sean McVay takes the world by storm. Oh, boy genius, quarterback whisperer. You know what I mean? He's 30 years old, doesn't matter. Takes the Jared Goff and the Rams, hottest offense in football, and all of a sudden, everyone who works with Sean McVay becomes a head coach. And then after that, it's everyone who once worked with Sean McVay became a head coach. Then it's everyone who kind of reminds you of Sean McVay becomes a head coach. Is that same thing going to happen with Dan Campbell? You know what you're hearing a lot less this offseason is about quarterback whisperer. You know what you're hearing more about? Leader of men. We need someone to run a program. In fact, the only quarterback whisperer that seems to be really in vogue is from Dan Campbell's coaching staff in Ben Johnson. He might lose both his coordinators, and then you might see Mike Vrabel be the hot candidate and other guys because they remind you of Dan Campbell and how well that has worked. Different type of history. So the Eagles could have chased Eric Dickerson history. Instead, they are chasing a different type of history, which is maybe the first team ever to win a Super Bowl coming off a supernatural funk. I've checked Football Reference. It's not anywhere else. A team that went to a Super Bowl, kept the same coach, lost it, kept the same coach and quarterback. The next year had a disastrous end of the year, kept the same coach and quarterback. The next year went back and actually avenged the previous 2 seasons. And Saquon, by the way, still does have a chance for the most rushing yards in a full NFL season, playoffs and regular season. Needs about 450 to do that. Familiar territory. Same story seemingly every year. The Buffalo Bills at the end of the season are one of the top 3 or 4 Super Bowl favorites. Josh Allen is one of the top 3 or 4, this year probably number 1 MVP candidate. They didn't have quite a good enough regular season to get a bye, but they are huge favorites in round 1 and look like a team that absolutely can, at the very least, make the conference championship game, if not win the Super Bowl. See if this year's different. And then at the very top of the tiers, only one more practice left. As you guys all know, the Chiefs season starts in the AFC Championship game. It's a 2-game season. Well, you hope it's a 2-game season. They go 0-1, it's a disaster season. They go 1-1, it's a mediocre season. They go 2-0, they get to host a parade that we go to. So that means they have to get through one more practice, which is the divisional round of the playoffs, where they're, of course, 6-0 under Patrick Mahomes. And then the actual season begins for your 2-time defending champion Kansas City Chiefs to try to make their 7th consecutive Final Four, only 7 shy of the UConn women's record of 14 straight Final Fours. Halfway there. Coach, tears are yours.
Yeah, you know, the tiers to me, this is expectations. And so Houston had high expectations. And that's why you have him where he is, or where they are. And they're well below teams that have snuck into the playoffs, whether it's Denver, Tampa Bay, the Chargers, Green Bay, they're all kind of squeaked, and you've got them below all of them because the expectations were so high. But we forget. Been very good defensively.
Yes.
In a lot of areas. 4th in sacks, 6th in defense, 4th in takeaways. They've got a 1,000-yard rusher. They've got a 1,000-yard receiver. They've got a quarterback that's actually won a playoff game, unlike Jaden, Nix, Herbert, Darnold, which haven't been able to do that. And they've won one more game than they did last year. And the other thing is they made history. They made history. This is the first time in history that a head coach quarterback duo has won back-to-back divisions in their first 2 seasons. First time in NFL history. So as much as we look at this team and say, okay, but it's not like Tampa's division was knocking it out of the park. It's not like the NFC West was killing it this year. So we may want to discredit what they've done because expectations were so high. But let's not forget, they're better than they were last year record-wise. They've made history in a significant way. They've got a lot of really talented players. So maybe they should be a little bit further up the tiers than at the very bottom and discredited by everybody in the world.
All right. Coach, I respect and appreciate you doing something literally no one's done all week. which is cape for the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah,
admirable.
no, everybody's laughing at
exactly.
that. 2 guys with double-digit sacks. Let's forget about them.
Yeah.
An
So
all-pro cornerback. I mean, he can't play.
listen, I
like that.
I really think
Great
it's a great argument, and I love you making it. And gosh, I hope you're right, because nothing would be a better practice for Kansas City than the Texans coming to Arrowhead in the divisional round. Last time that happened, we spotted them 24 points and then led at halftime of that game. I'd love to see round 2 of that. Brew, go ahead.
I feel like a broken clock. Is that
Broken record.
broken record?
You can break the clock.
twice a
Broken
day.
clock. No.
No, I never feel like a broken clock. I feel like a broken record.
There we
I
go.
mean, the Ravens, I'm just sorry. Like, Nick, they should be second.
Oh, that's too much.
Second. And I'm not even going to bring up the fact that they mollywopped your second team, Buffalo, 35
I think
to
you
10.
just did
I
bring
won't
it up.
even bring it up.
I thought you just did.
I won't say it.
I think the Texans
Everybody
beat
knows what
Buffalo,
happened.
too.
It was a shellacking. All right.
Point, Coach.
What I will bring up is that the Ravens have of all the teams above them outside Kansas City, they have the best record against playoff teams. They have been playing well against a monster schedule. Look at Buffalo. It's 2-3 against playoff teams.
6-2 is better than 7-3.
No, I'm just saying, but the wins, the number of wins, 7 wins versus playoff teams, color me impressed. They also have the best quarterback, running back combination in the league. Would you agree with that? Best running back,
So
quarterback
Goff
combination.
I don't know if you saw that game. He scored 4 touchdowns.
Goff Gibbs.
Oh, they're good. Jameer Gibbs, I love him. He ain't Derrick Henry.
What about
And Lamar was the
Mahomes
best
and
quarterback
literally
this year.
anyone off the street?
Well, Mahomes is Mahomes. I ain't say they should be 1. I said number 2.
Fair. That's a fair take.
All right. They got a Super Bowl winning coach, something those other 3 teams do not have. All right. The 3 teams above them. Defensively, coach, they laughed at me when I talked about the power of culture. Look at this. Last 7 games, that's 7 games against 5 playoff teams or 4 playoff teams in 5 games, and look at where they're ranking. I'm not going to say they're as good defensively as they were last year, but they are playing great defense. You combine that with what we know is great offense, and then here's the capper.
Oh, the capper.
Led the league in Pro Bowlers. 9 Pro Bowlers.
I don't care.
Mock it if you will, but that's how when you start 20 years from now, when you start doing rankings, your latest rankings, you're going to look at Pro Bowl appearances. 9 Pro Bowlers. Detroit had 7. Philly had 6. Buffalo only had 2. Case closed.
Okay, well, but that also oddly is a great case for why Josh Allen's the MVP, but you don't agree with that one because it is that he didn't
It's a
have-
factor.
Not
the key.
But, I mean, I remember, I think Baltimore last year led the league in Pro Bowlers. I know they had 12 Lamar's first MVP season, which ended early in the postseason after yes, no, that is true. I don't see any real forget the Buffalo argument is a simple one. They played head-to-head. The Ravens beat them. I don't see a real argument as to why they would be ahead. I know Houston did, Coach. Ahead of Detroit and Philly. I don't think they have the better resume. I don't think they have more overall talent, Pro Bowl votes notwithstanding. And so I just, if you wanted to argue, flip them with
Super Bowl winning
Buffalo,
coach.
I would
Well, if I flip them with Buffalo,
well, you're
they're
right.
second.
Yeah, but I don't see the argument for them being ahead of Detroit and
You
Philly.
basically, exactly, because Detroit's actually number 2. And I have a very similar graphic. I've got 2 normal graphics, and then Josh, I don't know if you can say this about statistical researchers, got in his bag.
Okay, good.
Defense. Look, the defense has been bad until all of a sudden it got good. We unlocked something against Sam Darnold.
1 game?
Hey, how do you walk a million miles?
Okay.
1 step at a time. So, hey, you got to start with 1 game, and you haunted Sam Darnold, didn't work. Jared Goff, last year in the playoffs. This is not Rams Jared Goff, who still did get to the Super Bowl. Last postseason, he played great, so I'm not worried about him struggling in the playoffs at all. And finally, this is where Josh got in his bag. Number 1 seed. Hey, there's 2 number 1 seeds. I think they should be 1 and 2. Call me crazy. Number 1 seeds in the last 2 years, but here's the caveat. The games can't involve the Chiefs, okay? You can't play the Chiefs, And you can't be the Chiefs.
Why wouldn't you use? But the Chiefs were because the Chiefs beat so many teams last year.
Yeah.
I get it. Because 2 years ago, the Chiefs were the #1 seed.
Yes.
But I got you. But go ahead.
But
Sorry,
because
put it
they
back
would knock
up.
out the Ravens.
I
They're
get it.
5-0. Last 2 years, 5-0. Basically, if you're the #1 seed and you got the bye, you cook.
Can I just tell you what that
So
graphic
it's the
is?
Chiefs and the Lions right there, 1 and 2. I'm not even saying they should be 1. I'm saying 1 and 2. That's where the Lions belong.
KW.
Yes.
You know how that graphic would have worked better?
Tell me.
#1 seeds in the NFC. Just do that.
Josh, why didn't we do that?
Because the Chiefs beat
didn't want to do that, he said.
beat them in the Super Bowl. But then at least we could have done the NFC playoffs. But just regardless.
You said you didn't want to do that.
That's
you
fine.
said you wanted 5-0. We like
no,
that.
Josh was in his bag. He's good.
He's
I
back.
you know
He's
what?
getting on the headset. Josh is on the headset now. Stand by.
Hold on.
Ravens, he said.
Yeah. Because they played the. Okay. I get it. Because then you get the Ravens game against Texans. I get it. You're right, Josh. I should just let you
He's
cook.
in the bag.
So just to be clear, you want the top team on the tier to be the Chiefs.
Yes.
#1 seed in the AFC.
I don't want them
defending
tied. A lot of
champion.
people say they should be
No,
tied.
and you want the #2 team on the tier to be the other #1
standings,
seed.
wow.
This is, hold on, can I tell you what this sounds like to me? Sounds like a job for only one man. Captain Easy Stance. Look at my guy. Look at him. Nobody can take on a popular, just very facile stance and make a passionate argument like the hero we didn't know we needed, Captain Easy Stance, Kevin White. The top 2 teams should be the top 2 seeds. Thank you, Captain Easy Stance.
Oh, my stomach, my gut is hurting. That's hilarious.
Well, first of all,
you know it's right on
if
the
we're
money.
doing photoshops of superheroes,
Yeah.
that's the most emaciated superhero I've ever seen in my life.
I know you're not talking.
That's what-
When you invented Cowboy Bruce,
I didn't
he
invent
didn't have a
Cowboy
belly.
Brew. Cowboys in general have a little bit of
Yeah.
it looks
Really?
like they work out with kettlebells.
None of the
throwing
Cowboys I
haymakers.
used to watch on TV.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.